of a peaceful, retiring community. Their spirit is unbending, uncompromising. They give no quarter and expect none. There is the particularly noteworthy stress on lying, a theme one finds across the spectrum of Qumran literature, in particular where the opponents of the community or movement responsible for these writings are concerned. There is also the actual use of the verb mas, meaning to reject or deny, in Fragment 2.7, paralleling similar usages in the community rule, the Habakkuk Pesher, etc. In texts such as these, ma degrees is always used to portray the activities of the ideological adversary of the righteous teacher, the liar spouter who rejects the law in the midst of the whole congregation, or the parallel activities of those archetypical sons servants of darkness who do likewise. Here it is used in contradistinction to choosing. In this case the group's opponents reverse the natural order. They choose the evil, instead of the good, which they reject. Similar reversals occur across the board in Qumran literature, one particularly noteworthy one in column I of the Damascus document, where justifying the wicked and condemning the righteous on the part of the breakers of both law and covenant is juxtaposed in column 4 with the proper order noted below of justifying the righteous and condemning the wicked. This last is definitive of the sons of Zadok, itself synonymous probably too with the Zadokim in line 5 of the Messiah of Heaven and Earth text. Both texts use the same reference, called by name, as descriptive of these respective terminologies. There is the usual emphasis on fire, presumably the judgments of hell fire, and there is no shirking the duty for war, which is to be seen in some sense, if Fragment 4 is taken into account, as being fought under Levitical or priestly command. Cf. War Scroll 2, 1, 3. There is the usual emphasis on works. Fragment 2, column 4 reconstructed, and particularly noteworthy is the reference to servants of darkness as opposed presumably to servants of light. The Jamesian parallels to the theme of works should be clear. So, too should Paul's characterization in 2 Cor 11, 12 of the Hebrew archapostles, presumably including James, as disguising themselves as servants of righteousness. Cf. The actual use of this allusion in the testaments of Naphtali below, and apostles of Christ, when in fact they are dishonest workmen and counterfeit apostles. Paul also employs light terminology in this passage, not to mention an allusion to Satan so important in referring to Mastamuth Mastema and its parallels below, i.e., even Satan disguises himself as an angel of light, emphasizing truth, the opposite, it will be noted, of lying, and at the same time parodying the position of every man according to his works. In 1131 he revealingly insists, he does not lie, thus demonstrating his awareness of the currency of these kinds of accusations at this time. His application of such lying terminology, so widespread in these Qumran documents, to himself, even if inadvertently, is noteworthy indeed. One should also note, in particular, the widespread vocabulary of judgment, the heavenly hosts and even pollution. Notice, too, the consistent emphasis on righteousness and righteous judgment, and on keeping, i.e., keeping the law, covenant in this text. The group responsible for these writings is extremely law-oriented and their zeal in this regard is unbending. The very use of the word zeal connects the literature with the zealot mentality and movement. The terms keeping and keepers of the covenant also relate to the second definition in column 4 of the community rule of the sons of Zadok, a term with probable esoteric parallels and variations in sons of righteousness, as we have seen above. One should also note the use of the word reckoned in line 5 of Fragment 1, which resonates with the use of this term in the key letters on works righteousness below in Chapter 6. Transliteration Fragment 1 Nuani Nai, we 133 WPWM of, Wo 1 SD Nyanan Mand 1 Ax, WDNDIVT, Rid Iodw, OD degrees on Amans Monos Inane, MMA, NWNPDS of Wavakat MP, Mpiri, Maja Anawan, Pina, Aim. Fragment 2, WS, J. Umans Nidhi Saw, Ob. S. Find Omni I71 D71 Moisaya Os SMN, Oberwedgewin T3, Y. Jabs Nos, Yasins, Azone, JB Ago S. Saw, WWSX Sinide. Ahmed Arwan Fragment 3 Jor DSL, We War 80 I Wax, 71 Pisway Aldwapin 7133 of, Yanaya 125, INV Na RWNE Fragment 4, CLWS Sida Al, 2 BPM AWR Did. Anakwan WYPM Awar, Ajan OSW SIP, Awam, Yor Olmu. Psi span ppd insu wye pomus in epnals nobron. Translation fragment 1. 1. The time you have commanded them not to. 2. And you shall lie about his covenant. 3. They say, let us fight his wars, for we have polluted for your enemy, shall be brought low, and they shall not know that by fire. 5. Gather courage for war, and you shall be reckoned. 6. You shall ask of the experts of righteous judgment and the service of. 7. You shall be lifted up, for he chose you for shouting. 8. And you shall burr, and sweet. Full stop. Fragment 2. 2. To keep the testimonies of our covenant. 3. All their hosts in forbearance. 4. And to restrain their heart from every will work. 5. Servants of darkness, because the judgment. 6. In the guilt of his lot. 7. To reject the gallad and to choose the evil. 8. God hates and he will erect. 9. All the good that. Fragment 3. 2. Eternal, and he will set us. 3. He judges his people in righteousness and his nation in. 4. In all the laws of. 5. Us in our sins. Fragment 4. 1. From all fault. 2. Every man from his brother, because. 3. And they shall remain with him always and shall serve. 4. Each and every tribe, a man. 5. 6. And from the Levite 6. 16. And they shall serve before him, always upon. 7. In order that they may be instructed in. 4. The birth of Noah. 4Q 534-536. A pseudepigraphic text with visionary and mystical import. The several fragments of this text give us a wonderfully enriched picture of the figure of Noah, as seen by those who created this literature. In the first place, the text describes the birth of Noah as taking place at night, and specifies his weight. It describes him as sleeping until the division of the day, probably implying noon. One of the primordial righteous ones whose life and acts are soteriological in nature, Noah is of particular interest to writers of this period like Ben Sira and the Damascus document. The first Tzaddik, righteous one mentioned in Scripture, General 6. 9. Noah was also born perfect, as the rabbis too insist, as is stressed in this passage. Because of this perfection, rabbinical literature has Noah born circumcised. However this may be, perfection language of this kind is extremely important in the literature at Qumran, as it is in the New Testament. See, in this regard, the Sermon on the Mount's parallel, be perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect. Matt 5:48. Perfection imagery fairly abounds in the literature at Qumran, often in connection with another important notation in early Christianity, the way terminology. For Acts, the way is an alternative name for Christianity in its formative period in Palestine from the 40s to the 60s AD. Acts 16:16, 18:24f, and 24:22. At Qumran it is widespread and also associated with walking, as well as the important way in the wilderness proof text. One has phrases like the perfect of the way, perfection of the way, walking in perfection, and the very interesting perfect holiness or the perfection of holiness also known to Paul in 2 Cor. 7. 1. In this text. 2. The Kabbalistic undercurrents should be clear and the portrayal of Noah as a wisdom figure, or one who understands the secret mysteries, becomes by the end of fragment 2 its main thrust. Noah is, therefore, one who is involved in heavenly ascents or journeying, or at least one who knows the mysteries of the highest angels. For more on these kinds of mysteries see chapters 5 and 7 below, particularly the mystery of existence text. This emphasis on mysteries is, of course, strong again in Paul, who in 2 Cor 12, 1, 5 speaks of his own visions and of knowing someone caught up into the third heaven or paradise. One should also not miss the quasi-Gnostic implications of some of the references to knowing and knowledge here and throughout this corpus. These kinds of allusions again have particular importance in chapters 5 and 7. As the text states, echoing similar biblical and Kabbalistic projections of Noah, Noah is someone who knows the secrets of all living things. Here, the Noahic covenant is not unimportant, not only to rabbinic literature, but also in directives to overseas communities associated with James's leadership of the early church in Jerusalem from the 40s to the 60s AD. James also seems to have absorbed some of Noah's primordial vegetarianism, this abstention from blood, food sacrificed to idols, i.e. idolatry, strangled things, probably carrion as the Quran 16:115 delineates it, and fornication, which Acts attributes to James in 3 different places, are also part and parcel of the Noahic covenant incumbent on all the righteous of mankind delineated in rabbinic literature. They survive, curiously enough, as the basis of Quranic dietary regulations. In this sense, the Arabs being one of the Gentile peoples par excellence. The specifics of Noah's physical characteristics are also set forth in this text, and the reference to his being the elect of God is extremely important. A synonym for Zadok or righteous one in the minds of the progenitors of this literary tradition. The term the elect is also used in the Damascus document in the definition of the sons of Zadok 4:3f, showing the esoteric or qualitative, even eschatological, nature of these basically interchangeable terminologies. It also appears in an extremely important section of the Habakkuk Pesher, having to do with the judgment God will make in the midst of many nations, i.e., the last judgment, in which the elect of God are actually said to participate. X 13. The reference to the 3 books is also interesting, and certainly these books must have been seen as having to do with the mystic knowledge of the age, or as it were, the heavenly or angelic mysteries. In regard to these, too, the second half of this text has many affinities with the chariots of glory and mystery of existence texts in chapter 7. Transliteration. Fragment 1. Tind war pumtien aet. O. A pantonas o degrees o 3 wlpeen. Willam mea non popnipnals 3. JP sway yeti y fat and t. 4. Ja. Pa o 5 y sans bss. Fe. A. 89 ma mdmm. LNG fragment 2 column 1. Sin x. Sa pulp. Padma pan 7. Or mood m. I. B. X. Fa pan I 353 wax mash ni 7 d 371 zonad. TDI Swix DMMP price Prozoc 7 OIOPL fist. N7 buys. STN plo MNX. 4 is equals S pato 11 row RS KNI R19 fragment 2 column 2. In Ka. J. Jax 9159 Mara Phi. AM of. JPL. Adoma. FPNS Piana Ayo Mod MRI WA 7 8750 TDRW APDMVX 71 Want 70 89 degrees Fahrenheit INI 2 TN degrees Fahrenheit Bind YAN AAMN. B Pray 722 PAO EQE Pi was Pi 1 Psi Mod in point 10 at 42 13 789 Fragment 3 Column 1. Ka. Plum Afchna. JS Nan XTOT. Comma Psi Privamipwem. IP ITWPTPW Pinanans Ya. Any Jibe Gravi Ya TT7 Rai. Psi Ellipta IP A. Wills PNVDMNDANW. Y2 Vakat. Vakat Raponanur. Ajnazita HIND Angst Pin QL. NYSHWYT Ani Pass. A Javadai Ma YYY May Apan PNJ. MN Ala. RI1 OM MI8 I1 NEM DDTYT ENY 9159 Anadim RW is TTYT. NIN NWNM SIDMI OWW Wire MIIPNSWNFD.9 STW. MIM ATW RIT NTNPMDTDO MINA. NMD par.10 J Pays Mind Omne. NL Dole. Pornike. PON ML. S214 AMI E16S Translation Fragment 1. 1. Comma when he is born, they shall all be darkened together. 2. He is born in the night and he comes out perfect. Dial. 3. With a weight of 350 shekels about 7 pounds, 3 ounces. 4. He slept until the division of the days. 5. In the daytime until the completion of years. 6. A share is set aside for him, not years. Fragment 2 column 1. 1. Will be. 2. Halali ones will remember. 3. Lights will be revealed to him, for they will teach him everything that. 5. Human wisdom, and every wise man. 6. In the lands, and he shall be great. 7. Mankind shall be shaken, and until. 8. He will reveal mysteries like the highest angels. 9. And with the understanding of the mysteries of. 10 and also. 11. In the dust. 12. The mystery is. Sends. 13 portions. Fragment 2 column 2. 7. From. 8. He did. 9. Of which you are afraid for all. 10. His clothing at the end in your warehouses. I will strengthen his goodness. 11. And he will not die in the days of wickedness, and the wisdom of your mouth will go forth. He who opposes you. 12. Will deserve death. 1 will write the words of God in a book that does not wear out, but my words. 13. You will adorn. At the time of the wicked, he will know you forever, a man of your servants. Fragment 3 column 1. 1. Of the hand. 2. Dotted left. T. A mark from. 2. Barley, and lentils on. 3. And tiny marks on his thigh. After 12 years he will be able to discern one thing from another. 4. In his youth he will be all of them, like a man who does not know anything, until the time when. 5. He shall have come to know the 3 books. 6. Then he will become wise and will be read. A vision will come to him while upon his knees, in prayer. 7. And with his father and his forefathers. Life and old age, he will acquire counsel and prudence. 8. And he will know the secrets of mankind. His understanding will spread to all peoples, and he will know the secrets of all living things. 9. All their plans against him will be fruitless, and the spiritual legacy for all the living will be enriched. 10. And all his plans will succeed, because he is the elect of God. His birth and the spirit of his breath. 11. His lands will endure forever. 12. That. 13. Plan. 5. The words of Michael. 4Q 529. This text, which could also be referred to as the vision of Michael, clearly belongs to the literature of heavenly ascent. 9. All their plans against him will be fruitless, and the spiritual legacy for all the living will be enriched. 10. And all his plans will succeed. 9. All their plans against 9. All their plans against him will be fruitless, and the spiritual legacy for all the living will be enriched. 10. And all his plans will succeed, because he is the elect of God. His birth and the spirit of his breath. 11. His lands will endure forever. 12. Nin NWNM Sidmio WW Wire MIIPNSWNFD.9 STW, MIM ATWRITNTNPMDTDO Mina, NMD Par.10 J Pays Mind Omne, NL Dole, Pornike, Pon, when he is born, they shall all be darkened together.